How are you? 30 years ago to the month, it's 2026, we're in July. 30 years ago to the month, I had an encounter that absolutely changed my entire life and changed my entire trajectory of where I was going. Let me tell you about it. The year was 1996. I was 19 years old, just turned 19 on June the 3rd. And I'd been living my life up until this point about 2 years out of high school. And let's just be honest, I was living like a dead set lunatic, an absolute party animal. I was drinking, smoking, doing it all. I loved my weed, smoke a ton of marijuana. I did it all. Acid, ecstasy, you name it. Every weekend, I was living like a lunatic. The thing was, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'd still be doing it to this day. Thank God I'm not. But it was my lifestyle. I came from a very sporty background. I played a lot of high-level soccer in my time. I was fit as a fiddle. But getting out of high school, you discover drugs, you discover alcohol, women, all the fun stuff. And straight out of high school for about 2 years, that's the trajectory my life took. Living like an absolute lunatic and loving it. The reason I tell you that is because it was about 2 months prior to July, say maybe May-ish, 30 years ago, a little bit hazy. But out of the blue, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna stop smoking weed for a little while. Now, again, I was smoking weed for 2 years. I would wake up and punch a cone. That's how bad it was. I was stoned all the time, okay? So out of the blue, it was like a Sunday night. I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna stop smoking weed for a little while. That was it. Making that decision started a chain reaction. Now, look, if you're a doctor or a medical professional, you could probably call it some sort of psychosis. 24 hours after not smoking any weed, it was like my life went into a full meltdown. I started getting full-on depression. I didn't get panic attacks, but I tell you what, I was close. It was like I was on the edge the entire time. My heart and my head was full of fear. And the worst part of this moment in my life was the fact that I was getting suicidal voices in my head. I shit you not. I had voices in my head saying to me, kill yourself, kill yourself. And this all just came out of the blue after I decided to stop smoking weed for a little while. Now, I want to paint the picture for you. It was hell on earth. It was absolute hell on earth. I was freaking out. I didn't know what was going on. I remember going to the doctor and the doctor wanting to put me on medication, and I said to the doc, I said, listen mate, I don't want any medication, I'm just going to try and sort this out myself. And one of the scariest parts, I remember going to sleep at night time and I'd lay my head on the pillow and it was like I'd have a vision of this really dark, scary place as soon as I shut my eyes. And I would jump up out of bed, open my eyes thinking, man, I don't even want to go to sleep. It was that bad. And again, this was all my fault. This is no one else's fault but mine. So, for about 2 months, I went through pure terror, depression, panic, no peace, no hope. It was hell on earth. I started to search my heart. I'd start reading the Bible. Now, I remember as a kid, I used to go to church. And I believed in Jesus and I believed in God, but that was about it. There was nothing more to it than that. So I started to search. I remember reading the Bible. It made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. But I started reading it, trying to figure stuff out. And I remember one night praying, God, if you can get me out of this, I'll love you forever. I swear, I said that in a prayer. Anyway, 2 months of hell on earth. I used to work at Woolies, right? And an old friend of mine, haven't seen him for a while, but an old friend of mine named Tim, we were stacking the bananas, right? Both stacking the bananas. And he was a Christian. He is a Christian. And I remember I just must have been pouring out my heart to him, dribbling, just telling him what I've been going through. And the funny thing was, Timmy, good bloke, doesn't speak. He's not a talker, doesn't talk at all. And he started to talk to me. And he said to me, Dougie, do you want to come to church? And I remember just going, sure, I'll do anything to help get me through what I'm going through right now. So good old Timmy invites me to church. It's a Saturday night. I rock up to this little church. I could take you to the building where it is. I rock up to this little church, paint a picture for you. I got tattered pants, tattered shirt, safety pins in me pants because I'm like an old punk rocker. Was in a punk rock band. Long blue hair, probably haven't washed it, smelling like a packet of Marlboro Reds. I rock up into this church on a Saturday night, and there's about 30 or so people there, all youngsters, like it's like a youth night. And I remember sitting at the back, and I can't remember, I felt completely out of place sitting in a church on a Saturday night. Normally my church was a club, the tunnel, the party, a rave, someone's house, drinking, smoking, going nuts. But not this night. I'm sitting in a church on a Saturday night, up the back, with Timmy. And I can't even remember what the preacher preached on. He was a good young preacher. And at the end of the sermon, this preacher says, put your hand up if anyone wants to get to know Jesus, right? My hand went up. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what I was doing, but I thought, man, I'll give anything a crack right now. So, before I tell you what happened, 2 months, I was living in pure hell on earth for 2 months. Depression, lack of hope, fear, hell on earth, okay? The preacher calls me up to the front of the building. The altar, as they call it. So me and my long blue hair, smelling like a packet of Marlboro Red, starts making my way up to the altar, the front of the church. Everyone starts clapping, yeah, whoa! So already I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, why the hell is everyone clapping? This is weird. So I make my way to the front of the church. And the preacher says to me, all right, do you know what we're doing here? I said, I got no idea, mate. You're gonna have to talk me through this one. So he says, we're gonna say a prayer. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna invite God into this old battered ticker. It wasn't so much battered back then, it was. It's getting worse, but he says, you're gonna invite God into your heart. I said, sure, that's easy, let's do it. So I shut my eyes. The preacher leads me in a prayer. I can't remember what the prayer was, but here we go. The moment I said amen at the end of this prayer, I feel a hot yet cold wind. It's the only way I can describe it. A hot yet cold wind rush from my feet through to my head and rush through me. A hot yet cold wind, and my eyes opened. I went, it was inexplicable. I can't explain it. However, the feeling it came with, I felt like $1 million. I felt unbelievable. The feeling I had in my heart at that moment was better than any drug you could ever take, right? But I'm still freaking out. I open my eyes, I'm feeling like $1 million. Everyone starts clapping and yeah, whoa, everyone's cheering. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? He sends me to the back of the room, right? Everyone's clapping still, woo, cheering. I go to the back of the room with my mate Tim. We sit down at the back of the church. And again, I'm feeling like $1 million. I'm feeling wonderful. And I look at Tim and I go, mate, what the hell just happened? And Tim says to me, mate, you're a Christian now. You've let God into your heart. You know, so I'm still not understanding any of this other than the fact that something happened at the front of that altar where a hot yet cold wind went through my head, and now I'm feeling like $1 million. okay? I get invited into this little room. There's a beautiful little old preacher, and she's since passed away, but she was wonderful. And she gives me a little Bible, writes a little message in it. I've got it somewhere. I've got to pull it out and have a little look at it. It's very special to me. And they send me out of church. I go home. I jump in my 1984 Datsun Stanza that has a red door on it with spray painted on the side of it, Green Day. Again, I'm an ex-punk rocker. Sorry, not ex-punk rocker. Still a punk rocker. I love it. I get in my old Datsun Stanza that's beat up. I make my way home. It's about a 15-minute journey. I punch about 3 or 4 darts. Maybe more, maybe less. I can't remember. But again, I'm feeling like $1 million. I'm feeling amazing. I haven't felt this good for 2 months. Again, I've been living in hell for 2 months. Here's the clincher of the story. I get home to my little unit, townhouse, whatever it was, living with a bunch of party animals. I get home there. I walk in. I go to my room. It's about 9:30, whatever. I lay down. And for the first time in 2 months, as I lay in my bed, smelling like a packet of Marlboro Red, I am at complete peace. Like I said before, this is 2 months of living hell. And I walk back into my unit and I lay down. I lay down and I am feeling at complete and utter peace. Words cannot describe it. Total peace. And here is the clincher. You think that was the clincher? Here's the clincher. As I lay there, I'm not getting any voices in my head. I'm not feeling any fear. I'm not feeling any anxiety. I'm not feeling any depression. Quite the contrary. I'm feeling hope. I'm feeling peace. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling loved. And here is the clincher. Believe it or not, as I lay in that bed, I could feel the arms of God holding me like a newborn baby. I went from pure hell on earth for 2 months to pure peace, pure joy, pure love, pure happiness, feeling hope again, and to top it all off, lying there, and I could feel the arms of God holding me like a newborn baby. True story. "30 years ago, and that's my Labrador in the background doing laps. True story.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Go.